Something that I'm really trying to work on is the concept that the event itself is neutral, but how you respond to it matters. So right now I'm here in a Buddhist temple in Japan, and I was just meditating, and I realized that a bunch of thoughts were coming up, some positive and some negative. And I realized that if I attached myself to the negative thoughts, if I focused on them, if I let them grow, they would stay there, they would stick. The thoughts themselves were neutral, but the act of me focusing on them and dwelling on them, that caused the problem, that caused the continued mental anguish during the meditation session. So for example, I might be thinking about something that, a deadline coming up, or some sort of family problem that's causing me anxiety, or some sort of relationship issue, or something like that. And that thought will pop up. If I focus on it, if I dwell on it, then it becomes a problem because I'm giving it power. But if I have the ability to focus back on my breath and let it go, it loses its power. So obviously it's one thing to say you just, let it go, and the other thing to actually do it. But in my opinion, it's a good skill to start developing, because if I can do it, it means that when something comes up, it doesn't have that hold over me that things usually do. If something happens, if someone says something that I don't like, or something that sort of triggers me, if I realize that this is just an event that's happening, or just a thought, or just something that pops up, that's not what matters. What matters is how I respond to it. Then that is what will sort of help pull me out of that depression, or pull me out of that anxiety streak, or sort of help me to get back into a half decent mental state, as opposed to dwelling on something that really shouldn't matter in the long run. Does that make sense? So let's say someone says or does something that gets to you, and you dwell on it, and you dwell on it, and you dwell on it, and it's an hour later and you're still thinking about it, you're still holding it. The other person's moved on, but you're still there, you're still stuck in the past. And the problem with that is that that person has moved on. So you're there brooding, but they're fine, or they've moved on. And you're looking at them going, but can't you see I'm hurting? And you're playing all these mental games with them. You're, going, well, can't you see that I'm suffering? Can't you see that this happened? Can't you see that happened? I feel this, I feel that. And you sort of get into this mental state, this mind frame of focusing on those thoughts and really holding on, grasping that sort of thought or that issue that was there. If the other person's moved on, they're not even aware that you're suffering. And even if they are aware, it's not even on them. It's how you're dealing with it. If instead you acknowledged, this is something that happened, this is how it made me feel, and I'm going to attempt to move on from it, you'll probably end up letting go of the thing a lot quicker. But the question becomes, how do you let go of it? It's not an easy process, and I definitely don't have it down pat, but there's, I suppose, a couple of things that I like to do that at least start to take the edge off the thoughts, that start to get me back into the present moment. The first one, like I said, is meditation. If I can focus on my breath and focus on the sensation of the air coming in and out of my nose, I really find that that's a good way to bring me out of my mind and into the moment. Because if you focus on the breath and a thought pops up, the meditation itself is bringing the thought back to the breath. That's what the meditation is. It clears your mind, not by going, I'm going to have a clear mind, because that just never works. But it clears your mind by focusing on something external, i.e. your breath, and sort of getting you out of your mind into that. Another one I like to use is present state awareness. So rather than sort of ruminating once again on the thoughts that are coming up, you start looking around and you go, what can I see? What can I hear? What can I taste? What can I touch? What can I smell? And by focusing on your senses, what's actually happening right now, it gets me at least out of my head and into the moment. And the final thing that I like to do is more of a physiological approach. Slow, deep, calm breaths. As in, I'm like, right, those deep breaths into the stomach, where your stomach expands and relaxes. Those really deep breaths and slow. 10 slow breaths. I know it sounds cliche, but they will calm. That calms the body down, and that helps to calm the mind down. You combine that with a meditation or present state awareness focus, and you're golden. So give it a try, and next time something pops up in your mind, either a thought or something happens, try to just recognize that it's not the thought that matters so much as how you respond to it. Yeah, something bad could happen. Yeah, it could mean that bad things are going to happen. But in that moment, you'll be a lot better able and better suited to address it if you return back to that present state awareness, turn to that present state focus, meditate, calm yourself down, deep, slow breathing, and just realize that it's not the thought that matters, it's how you respond to it. And from that place, you'll be able to better act, better respond, and let go of the things that really don't matter. Comment below and let me know how you go. Thanks. And just one more thing, if you like what I'm doing here, please like, share, and follow me. The reason I'm asking for this is two reasons. One, if you do that, it shows that you're getting something from me and it makes me feel good. And two, by sharing it, you're showing the rest of the world that you're comfortable talking about mental health and mental illness. The act of sharing is a way of helping to reduce the stigma. Why does that matter? Well, it matters because by sharing, you're letting everyone know that you're someone that's comfortable talking about this sort of stuff. They might not interact, they might not even acknowledge that you've shared it, but in the back of their mind, they're going, oh, this guy, this girl is comfortable talking about this sort of stuff. So if they need it in the future, they may come to you for support. This matters because 1 in 5 people are currently suffering from a mental illness right now. And it would be a shame that if they did something that was more of something terrible, when they could have came and spoken to you about it or just asked for some support. You don't need to do anything with them yourself. You could refer them on to a therapist or refer them on to some other form of support, but they might just come to you and say, hey, I'm struggling, and you can be like, sure, these are certain things that you can do. For example, seeing a therapist or joining a support group or that sort of stuff. So please, if you like what I'm doing here, share it and share it widely. And not just what I'm doing, but anything related to mental health and mental illness. Quotes, videos, podcasts, anything. Share it and share it widely because it will all help reduce the stigma. Thanks.